Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to today's guest, Sandra Millers-Younger. Sandra has a very interesting story. She lost her home, 12 neighbors, and almost her own life in the 2003 Cedar Fire, the biggest known wildfire in California history. With journalism degrees from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Syracuse University, plus 30 years of professional experience, Sandra felt compelled to capture the historic Cedar Fire story for posterity. Her resulting 2000 book, The Fire Outside My Window, A Survivor Tells the True Story of California's Epic Cedar Fire, has been hailed as required reading for residents of wildfire country. Adopted as a training text for top-level emergency professionals and featured in the March 2015 NBC Dateline special, Escape, the Great California Fire. Now, Sandra is a sought-after speaker and founder of Comeback Solutions International. Sandra works with disaster survivors and top-level emergency professionals to build resilience and transform disaster into opportunity. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm thrilled to be here.
You really are an inspiring person because obviously, you lived through this massive fire event. Can you tell me a little bit about how writing the book has, number one, transformed your own life and led you to a path that is now enabling you to help others?
Yes, I can tell you that story. I'd always wanted to write a book. I was a journalist from college on, and I'd started a few books, never really finished them because writing a book is kind of a big deal. It's a lot of work. And this fire was the story I couldn't not tell. And I knew almost immediately after we escaped, we were almost killed in the fire. We drove out through smoke and flames. And I realized this is my job now to tell the story, especially because, as you mentioned, we had 12 people who lived within a mile of us who did not make it out of the fire. 12 of our neighbors were among the 17 victims that week in 2003. So I felt that it was my responsibility to tell their stories for them since they couldn't be here to tell them themselves. So I had this, as if it wasn't enough to rebuild my house and put my life back together. I had this other job that came to me, this mandate to write the Cedar Fire story, and not just my part of it, but the whole thing. And I knew that in the midst of it, I knew that it was going to be a historic fire, even despite the number of fires that happen. We've got some going right now. I knew this one was going to be historic. I don't know how I knew that, Tammy, but I knew it, and I knew it needed to be documented for history. So that has since borne itself out, even though my book has yet to become an Oprah favorite, which, I wrote it so it would be good enough and inspiring enough for Oprah. She hasn't quite found it yet, but who did find it are the emergency responders and the emergency planners, because it tells the whole story of how an incident like this affects an entire community. And there's not a lot of literature out there. In fact, I don't know of another book out there that tells a fire story or a disaster story from both the civilian side and the emergency responder side. So they have found this book, and they have adopted this book into a lot of their training. It's even going to go wider now. We're in conversations about that. NBC found my book and used it as the basis for a Dateline special on this incident. And all of this has validated that inner knowing that I had all those years I was writing the book. It did come out on the 10-year anniversary of the Cedar Fire. And I knew that it was going to be an important story to be captured, and it was. So that has given me the opportunity now to work with these people at very high levels of emergency professionalism, and to be a speaker and to share what I learned after the fire, which is what we're going to talk about resilience and the fact that we can come back from any sort of challenge like this even stronger than before. So yes, the fire itself was horrible, but it opened up so many doors for me in enabling me to write this book that I had always wanted to write, and now as a speaker and a partner with emergency professionals.
So you're actually now out of this great tragedy of both personal loss and, of course, community loss. You now work with these emergency responders and disaster survivors, and you work with them to build resilience and to transform the disaster into opportunity. How do you do that? What is it that you're teaching them now?
Well, there's a little bit of a story behind that too. Pardon me, I tell stories.
Oh, I love stories. The audience loves stories. So
after the fire, I noticed in the people who were affected. Now we lost almost 2,500 homes that week in San Diego alone, and so there were thousands of people who were left homeless by the fire. There were thousands more who were affected in many, many ways. So I noticed as our whole community, and I do live in San Diego, came back after this fire, that people responded in different ways. Most of the people said, we're going to do this. We're survivors. We're going to rebuild. There was a lot of determination. There was a lot of optimism. There was a lot of community intent to rebuild. And yet there were some people, Tammy, who took another approach. It's interesting, after a disaster, notice this next time you think about it, the media immediately calls everyone fire victims or hurricane victims or whatever. And we didn't think of ourselves as victims, because I'd driven down a mountain through smoke and fire, only saved by a bobcat that jumped out of the brush to my headlight and took off into the smoke. And I knew that the cat was on the road, which I could not see in the smoke myself. And I knew to follow him. And that's how we stayed on the road and didn't fall up the side of the mountain and join that list of casualties. So this miracle had happened in our lives. We had lost 12 neighbors. How could I be a victim? It just did not compute. And as one of our other neighbors said, we buried the victims and the rest of us are survivors. So most of the people took on this survivor mentality. And there was a small number who didn't. And this is what I noticed that led me to wonder, I wonder if there's certain steps to come back from disaster that are the same no matter what the disaster. Because the really interesting thing, Tammy, was, I interviewed a couple hundred people in researching my book. The people who had lost the most in the fire, they had lost loved ones in the fire. They weren't the bitter ones. They weren't calling themselves victims. They were saying, well, our loved ones wouldn't want us to be miserable for the rest of our lives. They would want us to, come back and rebuild our lives and go on and be happy. The people I met who were the most bitter had lost a garage or an outbuilding. They didn't lose their homes. They didn't lose their animals. They didn't lose their family members. And yet they were the most bitter. And that made me realize you get to choose that part. You get to choose your attitude, even when you can't choose what happens to you. And that made me very curious about this process of coming back, which is how I discovered that there are principles of resilience that anyone can learn. It's not just a personality trait that you either have or don't have. And I started studying those principles. And I realized that of all the very serious scientific work that's been done, studies, that all of what they found about resilience and what promotes resilience and enables you to transform disasters into opportunities can really be boiled down to 5 steps. And I call that my comeback formula. So that's how I discovered that.
So what is your comeback formula?
My comeback formula, 5 things, starts with the word come. Come to a place of gratitude. And we know now that if you can find even one thing to be grateful for in the midst of chaos and disaster, that itself will help lift you out of that quicksand of bitterness and blame and resentment and loss. And it's not going to happen overnight, but gratitude for what you do have instead of focusing and obsessing on what you've lost is the first and most important step in the comeback formula. In our case, that was easy because we were alive. We could have very easily not been. So that gave us a great place to be grateful. So come to a place of gratitude. And then the other 4 points follow the letters BACK for come back. The first is to be patient. It's going to take a while. The grieving process takes a while. It comes in waves. It's not going to be an instant bounce back. So be patient with the process. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with others around you who have also been affected. And in the same breath, I say, believe that you can come back because you are a resilient being. You're part of a resilient universe. We know this by looking around us at how every year, no matter how tough the winter, spring comes and things revive. And so be patient and yet believe that it's possible for you to come back. You are a resilient being. Resilience is in your DNA. The next one is to accept help and be tough enough to ask for it when you need it. Now, sometimes this is hard for us because we don't want to be anybody's charity case. But accepting the help that comes to you in the wake of a disaster and even asking for it, even though we don't feel like it, we feel embarrassed sometimes to ask. But the people who come back successfully and the fastest are the people who take advantage of help and go get help when they need it. My husband and I went and got professional counseling because we knew we'd been through this trauma and we didn't know what the way back from that was going to look like. And we didn't want to fall up that mountain any more than we'd wanted to fall up the mountain driving out. So we went and got professional help. We asked for help. C is that that same principle we already talked about is to choose your response. We don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we can always choose our response. And my teacher here was Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian psychiatrist who was caught up in the Holocaust, lost his entire family, and he himself was interned in the worst of the concentration camps, Dachau and Auschwitz, barely got out with his life and wrote this amazing book after that called Man's Search for Meaning. And here's what Viktor Frankl said about this issue of choice. He said that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, and that is the last of the human freedoms, he called it, the ability to choose your response in any given set of circumstances, to choose your own way. So I look to him as the ultimate authority on being able to choose no matter how terrible the thing that happened to you. You get to choose whether you're going to be a victim or a survivor. And then the last one is K, which is kiss yesterday goodbye. And this is maybe the hardest one because we have to at some point accept our loss and to know that the former normalcy is not coming back, no matter how much we wish it would. And yet it is possible to build a new future that is in many ways potentially richer than what we had before, that there is a possibility of finding fortune even in the midst of misfortune. So K is kiss the past goodbye and embrace a new future. So that is the comeback formula. What do you think?
Well, I'm listening to that and I'm thinking that the comeback formula, not only can it be applied to a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, whatever that fire was. But it also can be applied to life.
Yes.
To our regular lives, because like you said, come to a place of gratitude. It's so funny that we're having this conversation, because earlier today I got up early and I think I had a mini meltdown because things weren't going as quickly as I wanted for some projects. And so it was like I looked around and it's like, I need a new roof. I need all these things. Yet I have, everything's great, except, the roof. And then I'm thinking about that as you were speaking, and I'm thinking, Tammy, be grateful for the fact that you have a house and the only problem is it needs a new roof. I mean, think about that.
Yes.
And so in your case, obviously, you're talking about massive loss. I mean, loss of life, loss of loved ones, loss of everything except your life. And then I was listening to your Bobcat story, and I was thinking about what a miracle that was for that Bobcat to show up and lead you out of the smoke and flame, and that the Bobcat saved your life. Yes. So, wow, how wonderful. Yeah. But the comeback formula really, the be patient, believe, accept, ask, choose your response. And I actually have read Viktor Frankl's book, and I remember that as being very, very profound, because you're absolutely right. We have a choice, like you said, we can be the victim or we can be the survivor. And then of course you can't look back, and you have to be moving forward. And like you took this disaster and turned it into knowledge and a message that now is enabling these emergency responders to have a method or a formula so that they can handle these disasters in a way so they can help more people to come out of it in a more positive way. So I just think, I just learned a lot just from your simple comeback formula.
Well, it's simple but profound. There's a lot packed into every step of that. For example, part of kissing the past goodbye is forgiveness. To forgive whomever you may blame for your loss, and to forgive yourself. In my case, we were leaving our house so quickly that I didn't stop to close the garage door. And I thought later, oh my God, that just in itself doomed our house. But let me tell you, Tammy, the fire was at our house. We were sitting in the middle of swirling tornadoes of embers, and the fire was on the other side of our house already. If I had stopped to try and save the house, I would have missed my Bobcat.
Right.
So it took me a while. It took me about 3 years after the fire to come to grips with that and realize I had to forgive myself for that. So forgiveness is packed in there. There's a lot packed in there. But you're right. It is something that you can apply to anything that happens to you. And how smart you are to be grateful for your house, even if the roof leaks, because we have 65 million people in this world right now who are refugees and migrants who would just love to have a leaky roof over their heads.
Well, talking to you today, it is really a reminder. It's like, you have I have so much to be grateful for. I can count, so many blessings that, more blessings than I could even count. And I think that's something that we really have to recognize, that it starts with being grateful for what we do have. So what exactly, you wrote the book in 2013. Mm-hmm. So once that book came out, and what happened? This is 2016 as we speak. So 3 years have passed. So, what has happened with your life and the book since 2013?
Well, my life has shifted now to focusing my life and my work. It now focuses on speaking and being a workshop facilitator on this resilience message. And, the book, you asked about that, has, as I mentioned, found its way into emergency response coursework as a text, as a supplementary text. It did inform the NBC Dateline special, and the people who have read it are all very excited by it. They say it's not just a factual documentation of this event, but it's a great read. And that makes me happy because that was my intent. And you can look on Amazon, The Fire Outside My Window. You can see 68 reviews there, reader reviews. Only 3 of them are negative. And so I'm proud of that because people write whatever. Yeah. But, the most common reader remark is, I couldn't put it down. So that makes a writer so happy that, we've done our job. And in this era where we have the attention span of a goldfish, people
less
are still
than.
Yeah, less than. So yeah, the book, and I hope it will someday become a movie. That is another thing that I've always known about it. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But that's what's happened with the book. My life, it's kind of interesting. There's a story behind that too. I spent 10 years getting this book out, and I thought that's enough of my life to spend on this fire. It's time to do something else. And I thought, well, I want to tell people how to come back from the fire. I don't want to be the fire lady for the rest of my life, but I want to share what I learned, because this is how we transform loss into legacy. Even we transform disaster into opportunity. And then when we seize that opportunity, we're not just survivors, but we're thrivers. And then we're givers because we share what we've learned. And some of us are called to take another step and be what I call changers. And these are people who've had horrible things happen to them, but somehow they've become an inspiration to us. You look at the people we really love and respect in this world, the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Malala, the Pakistani schoolgirl who was shot in the head just for wanting to go to school. These are people who've been through horrific personal tragedy and loss, and yet they're the ones we really most appreciate in our society because they have taken this terrible thing and turned it into a blessing for others. So there's this whole journey after the comeback formula to not only transform loss into opportunity, but to transform loss into a legacy. And what I decided to do was to focus on this resilience piece. And hopefully that would be my legacy. But at first, I'll tell you, Tammy, I got cold feet because I met other people in the course of pursuing this who had what I considered much deeper losses than I. They had lost loved ones. They had lost, God forbid, children. And it took me about 3 years until I realized that my story, which I thought wasn't tragic enough to be able to share with people who had suffered such deeper losses, that it was enough, that that these principles applied across the board, no matter what the loss was, whether it was a slight loss, a momentary loss, or a deep, deep, never-ending loss, and that I could still talk about it. But that is in answer to your question about what's happened in my life. There's been this evolution from not wanting to be the fire lady and wanting to move to something completely different to realizing and accepting is one of the steps, right? That my message is valid. And it's not about me and my experience, that I can refer to people like Viktor Frankl and say, hey, this is what he said too. And who can imagine a deeper loss than Viktor Frankl's losing his entire family and being in Auschwitz and almost losing his own life. So that's what's happened. And now I'm thrilled when I get to be a speaker and facilitate workshops. I have written a workshop curriculum and a workbook on this now. and share this with other people, because what I hear is we don't get this. We don't have this. And it is a hole out there in the recovery phase of disaster. They will tell you how to file an insurance claim. People will come and help you rebuild your home. But no one is out there with this message of how to put your heart and your soul back together.
Whoa, that's really powerful stuff. Yep. Can you imagine, as I listened to you, when you said that, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. It's like when I look at my life, I don't see some of the lows as like, oh my God, that was a really awful, awful thing, because other people have suffered more than me.
Yes, we count our own stories.
And like you just said, your story was, you had to accept that it was enough, that your disaster was enough of a disaster to share. And look what you've done is you've actually created this book that people are using as a model on how to help people move through a disaster, or to move through to bigger and better things. So the workshops that you're teaching now, are they only designed for emergency agencies and communities?
No, I think as you point out, they have widespread application, because these are the 5 principles that contain all of the steps of resilience, and it can apply across the board. So I am focusing primarily now on emergency responders and well, not just emergency responders, emergency professionals, I call them, because they're also emergency planners. There are directors at the governmental levels, leading all the way up to the federal level. At FEMA and Department of Homeland Security are very interested in these principles. So I'm focusing on emergency professionals and disaster survivors, because that is where my experience comes from, and those are the people who are immediately interested in this topic because of my background. But I foresee that this is going to become a bigger movement.
Well, I have to agree with you. So where can people find out more about you and your services?
They can start by downloading their own free PDF of the Comeback Formula. I have a website for that. It's simply thecomebackformula.com, thecomebackformula.com. Comebackformula.com will also take you there, and you'll be able to download the Comeback Formula steps, so you'll have a copy of it. And then I'll have your email information, so I can send you that link, and then I will stay in touch and offer opportunities to pursue this if you'd like.
And if people want to find your book, can you give me the title of the book? And obviously you can find it on Amazon.
You can. You can find it on Amazon. You can also go to a website, especially for the book, fireoutsidemywindow.com. There's an Amazon link right there. There's also a way to contact me that will actually take you to my website. You can contact me there on the contact page. So fireoutsidemywindow.com. The Fire Outside My Window is the full name of the book. Or you can look it up on Amazon under my name, Sandra Millers, with an S on the end, Millers Younger, on Amazon.
Great. So Sandra Millers with an S, Younger. Great. Well, gee, I'm just overwhelmed. I learned so much from you, and I love the Comeback Formula because, like I said, not only can it be used by emergency responders and emergency professionals, but people in real life who are going through anything. If you use the Comeback Formula and you start with that place of gratitude, I think that is just the most powerful thing. I would like to invite you back for another conversation at another time. I hope you'll accept that.
I would love to.
Great. Well, again, Sandra, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Tammy.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.